Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode on the HighLevel Experience Podcast. Our guest today is one of the most dynamic forces in the high-level community, a true SaaSpreneur who's not just using the platform, she's redefining what's possible with it. She's a pioneer in online education with over 280,000 students across 181 countries and has built one of the most successful GHL-powered SaaS brands in Australia. From being the youngest university director in Australian history to building a Techmatics, a high-level powered tech company that hit a $15 million valuation in its first year, her story is as inspiring as it is instructive. What's most intriguing? She's taken the art of online course creation and scaled it into a global movement, all while riding the wave of high-level automation, systems, and next-level digital product delivery. Please welcome to the show the one and only Sarah Cordiner.
Crowd goes wild. That was an epic introduction. I like it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Great to have you, Sarah.
Thank you so much. I just find it's amazing, when we hear introductions like this. I think a lot of people listening are either already there, but many people listening are aspiring to do great things. Let's face it, most of us have the itch to be an entrepreneur because we want to achieve something epic, right? And I remember the day when I was thinking, who am I to even be heard, to be seen, to sell anything? I'm just a normal guy with a bum hole and no idea, but loads of ambition. And when I hear intros like that, I have to actually just take stock and go, for the last 20 years, I feel like I've been shoveling shit uphill. And then you have a moment where you go, oh, wow, I actually did do a thing. And I think when we are in the midst of our business, right, I'm sure we talk a lot behind the scenes, is every day when we're looking at things at a microscopic level, the to-do list, the stuff that we didn't quite get to do, so it's rolled over from last week, last month, last quarter, we often focus on the things we haven't yet achieved, we haven't yet done, the stuff that we haven't yet got to, the goal that we haven't yet reached. And it can feel really tiring when we're focusing on our business and on our goals at that microscopic level. I just want to thank you and ask everyone else listening right now to just take a moment, actually, and a big deep breath and look back at the last year, 2 years, however long you've been going or thinking about this, and maybe just take a moment to go, what have you achieved? What things have you ticked off your list? What things have you done that weren't done a year ago or even a week ago? Because I think sometimes we cannot give ourselves enough credit for how hard we're working, and that work actually is creating results or progress in some way that us entrepreneurs are not always great at acknowledging. So let's all give ourselves a little pat on the back, first of all, for what we've done and where we've come from.
Absolutely. You're going to stop sometimes and get off the hamster wheel and look at the wheel, how far it's spun.
I know. I love it. Well, this is really cool to catch up because we have been threatening to do this podcast for nearly 2 years, Vit, I think.
Since we met in Dallas, and after Dallas, when I launched this thing with Andrew, it was within that first week after Dallas that I think it was Andrew who sent out messages to everybody. So, it's been a long time coming.
It's so good. And this is another thing I think about the community, about having something in common, right? We would never have become friends if we hadn't had the software in common that we both run our very different businesses from. And the friendships that you make are, lifelong for a start. The people in this space are the only people that are ever going to get you the crazy journey that you're on, and the only people that can understand what you're even talking about. But, not only are we learning from each other, we have that everyday support with one another, right? We have that mental support as well as the tips and the tricks that we're all picking up that we're only going to be able to improve or move forward from if we make these friendships by coming to these events and networking with each other. So I'm so glad that you're one of those people I've made friends with, Vit. It's awesome to finally be here.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been great meeting you as well. Hey, the other thing is also what I enjoy about this community of high level. My experience being that I've not experienced the competitiveness yet. Like friendly competitiveness yet, but not like, somebody getting like really like, don't like, I don't want to share anything with you because that's proprietary. Like people are very open. Have you noticed?
Yeah, definitely. I think every community in every space in every industry is always going to have the majority good guys. I've been in business for 20 years now. I know I only look 21. Stop it. But there's also always going to be the very few that don't play fair, that don't play ethically, that are there to try to win by taking others down. Like that's true in every single community and industry that exists, right? But yes, I absolutely love the fact that particularly in this field, tech, SaaS especially, is an extremely brutal business, right? There's very little forgiveness in it. It's very hard work. It's a 24-hour-a-day business that never sleeps. And there are, thankfully, in this community, a huge amount of people that, because they understand that, are so supportive of each other. And yeah, I'm in so many group chats of people that have got all of their various kinds of businesses built on top of this platform that I genuinely don't think I could get through some days without. So even if it's just to go, anyone else, talk me off the ledge of shutting this down and pulling the plug out, because some days are like that, right? So thank goodness for a community.
Yeah, it's awesome community, and what we've got, it's incredible. And I'm 5 years into it myself, and I'm still like, there's not a day that I don't get like, what's the word? Impressed how far we keep going. How far the platform keeps getting. Like I remember the community too, right? The community when I started was I remember 12,000 members. And now we're 103, 104,000. Yeah, everything just like it's been amazing, yeah. But high level aside, you've not always been a high leveler. You've had an interesting journey overall. So, and I think my intro doesn't give it enough justice. So, can you maybe just tell us about tell us your life story? No, like how did you get into the educational space? How did you become the first Australian? Was it a leadership role in a university? How did you get to all that?
Well, yeah, interesting. I actually born from gypsy heritage, which actually by heritage, traditionally, women don't get a job, they don't go to school. So I'm the gypsy girl that not only did get an education, I ended up moving abroad and becoming the youngest university director in Australian history. So go figure. I think we want to just acknowledge here that you can come from anywhere, regardless of what your starting point is. You can absolutely, with willpower, effort, and work, get anywhere you want. And I'm testament to that. Basically, it's not a case of just being in the right place at the right time. It's a case of doing the right work in the right way, in the right order. So yeah, I basically was in school. I didn't like it massively, like most teenagers. I had a particularly crap day at school one day when my history teacher threw me out of class for asking what I thought was a pretty good question, although it probably had teenage undertones of, sarcasm in it. However, I got thrown out of this classroom and I thought, I'm never going back into a classroom ever again. School sucks. I can't wait to get out. It was just so dictatorial. I think I had about 3 suspensions in my school life, and it was because I had the wrong color hairband. I did go to a very, very strict all-girls Catholic school. So, unfortunately, I don't even have really good stories of being a rebel to go with it. But I went backpacking around the world. The second that school gate opened, school there for summer, I was like, I'm off backpacking. And I actually found myself traveling around the world and ended up kind of doing teaching in schools. And it was in these experiences where I realized that education was a lot more than just memorizing the chemical equation of photosynthesis. I realized in sharing who I am, my culture, my background, my experiences, the things that I was teaching in these classrooms, which are not based on a traditional educational curriculum, that you can change people's lives and open up people's eyes and change people's perspectives and help people see and understand themselves and the world that they live in ways that the curriculum in our traditional schooling system cannot. I understood that we could change people's lives, not in the way that our traditional education system was allowing. And I kind of fell in love with this new way of understanding and seeing education. So I did my backpacking trip around the world, taught in all of these different schools, and went and did a degree in adult education, did my postgraduate degree in teacher training, curriculum design and development, started my career as a 19-year-old blondie teaching in an all-male category B prison in the UK. That's a whole other story. And yeah, I started my education business as well as became a training manager for the UK government and had both of them running at the same time. Hired my university lecturer as my first employee because I got promoted in my training management job as well. And basically my passion for education and curriculum design just continued to grow from there. So fast forward 20 years, I've moved my business into 3 different countries. Literally physically moved to those different countries. And as part of the development of going through curriculum design in its most traditional form 20 years ago, then e-learning came along, and obviously every single business, training provider, university, company, corporate needed to implement e-learning in their businesses for their staff training, their, inductions and all kinds of other reasons. So I actually built my business very much on the basis of doing curriculum design, providing training, professional development training, but also importantly, in where I've now moved from, e-learning. So I had to learn back then these massive, clunky university training provider learning management systems, which were very expensive, very cumbersome, needed a freaking generator to make them run. Moths flew out of all of the doors when you clicked on any button with that little thing going round and round and round. But I had to learn all of these learning management systems for all of these different training companies and universities that I was doing online learning development work for. And over the years, basically, I had people in the public start coming to me and saying, I know that you do all this online learning development for these big companies and these big universities. How can I do that as an individual? And I thought, well, how can you do that as an individual? Because, curriculum development's expensive. And a lot of my clients were paying me enormous amounts of money to provide these services for them. But I realized that actually anyone with a camera and a microphone and a little bit of lighting and some passion could basically teach whatever they were teaching in a classroom to the world via a webcam. And I very quickly started to learn the very few platforms that 15 years ago were available for the public to use at a public price tag. So along came platforms like Udemy, marketplaces started coming along, and Thinkific came along, and it became a lot easier for the everyday person to start commercializing their knowledge and their expertise. So I was in this perfect position, being a qualified teacher trainer, a qualified curriculum developer, and in those early days to basically take over the early market. And I dare say that the majority of the people out there who are teaching course creation were once my students. So sorry, not sorry. There we go. So I basically, as we moved into this public market, people then had to learn how to market their courses. They had to learn email marketing. They had to learn how to create funnels and web pages and automations. So I became obsessed with learning all of these tools as they were coming along. And once upon a time, then along came COVID. I had by that point spent at least 10 years setting people up on every platform you can imagine. The Thinkifics, the Kajabis, the Active Campaigns, the LearnWorlds.
That gets messy.
Yeah, I was an affiliate partner with almost all of them. I'd made most of them millions of dollars collectively, sending people to all of these different platforms. And COVID happened. And all of these platforms that I had helped bring thousands of people to basically doubled and then tripled their pricing on everyone right when everyone was facing economic catastrophe. One of my students said, Sarah, I can't run my business anymore. And I'm thinking, ditto. The harder I work, the more I grow my business, the more customers I bring in, the more products I create, the more contacts on my list, the more I'm getting fined by having increasing fees and charges. And one of my students said, Sarah, if you made your own platform, we'd move to it. And they all said, me too, me 3, me 4. So I said, hold my beer. And 6 weeks later, Techmatics was born, having discovered that there was an amazing platform that I could basically build my empire on top of, customize, add in my own APIs, add in all of my background experience in my field, course creation, and create templates and pre-made workflows for my particular audience. And boom, this thing here, where I had a goal of 50 people to sign up in the next 90 days, I chucked it out to my list who were all hurting because of all of these price increases. And I had 754 people put their name down in the first 12 hours. And then began the journey of SaaSpreneurship, basically. And haven't looked back, still have some PTSD, but pretty glad I did it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about that. this is nuts, right? Most of us high levelers, we have an aspiration to hit the gold award, which is 100, and and then slowly get up to the next rank, right? I am an OCD and I'm very much of a perfectionist. So the idea of having 700 signups, it just actually scares me, because it would just that would be, somebody told me once, I used to work for somebody in another agency, and they told me, yeah, mate, just embrace the chaos. I'm like, I
It
can't embrace
was an
chaos.
absolute shit show. I never in my wildest dreams.
Because the customer care cannot be good.
No, it was a disaster. So, I genuinely thought, it was going to take me 90 days, 3 months to get this dream goal of 50 people pulled over. So when we sort of just announced it, which by the way was me in my fluffy socks in my spare room going, the thing is now open, hoping that one person might be like, oh, come in. I had no training videos for my customers. We had no formalized onboarding system. We had
and how well did you know high level at that point anyway?
Oh, not very well. Enough to work my own way around the platform, because I'd been migrating all of my stuff over. So I kind of had the basics in place, but certainly not to the level that we needed to be at to reach that stage. The only saving grace for me is the fact that these people that signed on were already existing customers of mine, and many of them had been for years. So thank goodness.
They had respect for you already. Okay.
Oh, this allowed a lot of forgiveness from that audience of the fact that it was a complete disaster. And we had to kind of just we had to lock the doors down and say, whoa, really sorry, can't take anyone else in for the time being. And we did, I have to say, lose a handful of people in that process, because it just wasn't streamlined. So I do not recommend going open doors like that. And then again, we didn't expect that to happen either. We certainly wouldn't have put it out there like that in that way if we'd expected so many people to turn up. A victim of my own success, I guess. It is nice to see, however, that 3 years later, a lot of those people, have been sitting back and watching. They've seen all the improvements that have been made. We continuously evolve every single day. And a lot of them now are coming back and obviously now having a much more beautiful experience. But yes, I would definitely recommend that, expect or hope that this could be really successful for you. And yes, do not get caught up in perfectionism. I see a lot of people fail because they wait too long, because they take it too slow, because they want it to be too perfect. The truth is, when it comes to anything, you're not going to know what's going to happen until it happens. And the only way to figure it out is to open the door and start running. But I do wish that maybe I had taken perhaps another couple of days to get that onboarding process absolutely nailed, and to at least have just taken on a limitation of maybe 10 people to just
phase
walk
it out
through the process. See where the holes are, see where my own lack of knowledge was, before we then, really let the dam open.
Because the moment you get that many people, they all need help. Right. And so we know that what scalable is to build a snapshot. So that would be naturally the thing that you'd want to roll out. But then if you do it rushed, and then you leave something out in a snapshot, or forget to tile something in a snapshot, and now you roll it out to 100 sub-accounts, 700 sub-accounts, you've scaled 700 problems. And now you got to go into every single sub-account if you've already started customizing it. Yeah, I mean...
you're bringing up my old traumas here, Vit. Absolutely, yeah. So that was fun. Definitely tip 1. Get your onboarding process clear. And again, for us, one of the things the mistakes that I made was actually my experience that caused the problem, because there was almost I wouldn't say arrogance, but a degree of, I know what I'm doing. I've been in tech for 10 years. So, tech wasn't new to me. So I thought, I understand the basic functionality of the platform. I've gone in and migrated most of my business over from all of the other platforms I was using. So, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to figure it out. And actually, the truth is that no matter how well you know tech, running a SaaS company is completely different. It's a whole other ballgame. And what I didn't have experience in is that behind the scenes of SaaS configuration, of SaaS systems, of how all of that connects to so many other things that you don't learn until you're in it. And I wish that I had taken on a highly experienced SaaS consultant from day one to actually help me put those systems in place. Because what I did is I went in going, I think I know what needs to happen. I've got a pretty good idea, and then jumped in. And I probably could have saved myself a lot of embarrassment and a lot of egg on the face and a lot of problems that, like you just said then, I had to go back and fix 700 plus times. If I had just got someone on board to help me, that could have been avoided.
And also, if you did it in the phase, so if you had a first initial rollout and said, we've got a beta release for the first 10, you guys help us dial it in, you're going to get a discount of 50% or whatever. You guys going to be the, master, what's the pricing, the grandfathered into it. And, but, you're going to help us dial it in. And then that might be, and you might do like a really short intense sprint of like 2 weeks, right? That should be enough for 10 people, easy to manage. Yeah. Then you open the floodgate a little bit more. Okay, now we go 50, now we go 100, and everybody gets good experience because you're sort of staggering it out. Yeah. Let's talk about SaaS configuration. Is it okay if I ask you some technical stuff? Are you happy to share some of it? You share whatever you feel you want to share, right?
Yeah, let's go with the flow.
So SaaS configurator, you bring up a good point. Like I just spoke to somebody. I'm helping out another agency. They started in HighLevel, and they have this idea of setting up a SaaS plan, and then they asked me, hey, can you review it? And I just logged in and I looked, and they already like toggled on, employee AI add-on. They toggled on EX listings. They toggled on ad manager. Okay, ad manager, $10, no problem. But the employee AI, it's going to cost you $97 or $87 is what HighLevel is going to charge you. And you don't really need it, because if the customer doesn't have enough volume to justify it, and then you include, and you're the one paying it. Right? So little things like that. And I made him aware. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, well that's, you could be in a world of shitstorm because now you've committed to have to pay for something that's, every single month. So some of these things. So what's your take? Yeah.
The SaaS configuration side of it is, again, my own experience is what tripped me up here, because I, in my head, was like, this is basically going to be the same. And this is, I think, some of the ways that some of the marketers and the resellers pitch this is, you just turn it on, you stick your logo on it, you choose your settings and off you go. Well, actually, that's not entirely the truth. And there are a lot of things behind the scenes there that make this very different to selling digital products or any other kind of online service. One of the things, for instance, that we had to learn the very hard and expensive way is what features you have turned on or turned off, and what features particularly you maybe don't turn on until after a set of prerequisite stages. So as one example of many, for example, in a lot of the SaaS configurations, you have the opportunity to switch something on or off. So when someone signs up, signs in, logs in, they have all of these features available. Now, you may think, like I did, that's a great idea. Why hold anything back from anybody? We want them all to get straight stuck in, use the platform so that they get stuck as quickly as possible and they stay a subscriber, right? That makes logical sense. Well, in some cases, wrong. Our biggest mistake at the beginning is that we turned on, get this is not going to be what you think it is, contacts. What do you mean, Sarah? We were allowing every single new customer to have full access to adding, uploading contacts and being able to send email distribution blasts and SMSs. Mm-hmm. Well, what happens here when you are the agency owner, for those of you who don't know, who are new to this world, when people send emails or any other consumable, use AI, send SMSs if they've connected a phone number and a whole bunch of other things that you can turn on, you as the agency owner first have to pay for that customer's usage. Then you pass on the billing to that customer and hope they pay you back. Right? This is how the model works. You have to pay for everyone's stuff and everyone's use, and then you claim the money back from them. So what was happening to us is we started to get noticed by, unfortunately, a lot of scammers. A lot of people who sign up to softwares with fake names, fake email addresses, and massive, massive email lists of usually stolen contact databases. Why? So that they can mass spam whatever it is that they're selling, and then they disappear whenever they finally get found out. So here's what happened to us. We had a whole bunch of people signing up to the platform on the free trial, I might add, using fake credit card details to get through the sign up using a credit card wall. They were logging into the platform, uploading millions of contacts because we have unlimited contact feature. They were doing mass email blasts and then ditching and running. I got charged in year one alone $34,000 in people sending emails and SMS blasts from my platform that I had to pay for from my credit card, and then I couldn't rebill and recoup the funds back from the people who were doing that because they used fake credit cards and dumped and run, and it was a completely fake account. So this was an extremely painful lesson.
Big lesson learned, yeah.
Can you imagine year one of any business, despite the fact I already had a successful company, this one was new. So, you've started a brand new business that my other company basically had to fund a $34,000 loss on just in its first few months. So that thing there is something that I would never have known. No one taught me, and that literally wouldn't be something I could share with you today, and I hope you learn from, if it hadn't had happened to me. So it's these kinds of things that I think when everyone out there is sharing how exciting, how lucrative, how massive running a tech or a SaaS business can be, which it can be, they're also not always sharing the truth and the reality behind the risks that you put yourself up to, and the challenges and the 24/7 hard work that also comes with it. If you're not prepared to take those risks on, maybe think twice or do some more research before you jump all in like I did in your fluffy socks and go, my thing's open, who wants to join it?
Yeah, you get it dialed in, because that SaaS configurator, this is what's going to determine how much profit you're going to make, or if you're going to put yourself under, right? Luckily now, I think back to that experience that you had, luckily now, from my understanding, from what I've experienced, is that it doesn't allows you to send anymore, or doesn't, like once you run out of credits, as long as you got SaaS configurator enabled. That's the big thing, right? You just want to make sure every single account is SaaS config enabled, so that they have to pay and top up their credit, and if it runs out, then everything stops, right?
Yeah, it
but
was a bit
when you had
ago.
that, it was different back then. Yeah. Do you use that functionality in the security setup on SaaS configurator, where you have, you toggle on the thing where somebody signs up and you have to approve the account?
We do have a whole bunch now of various verification steps that we've chosen to put into place for people now joining the platform, because, like we began here, there's always going to be some bad eggs in any industry. And I think we have to accept the fact that as digital businesses grow, the digital world grows, half of the world doesn't yet have the internet. So we haven't even seen half of the problems that can come. We do have to make sure that whilst we are exposing ourselves enough to be seen and noticed, we also need to make sure that our defenses and our lines of protection are just as strong, if not stronger. So we have created multiple lines of defense now, including, yes, approving a setup, but also we don't allow certain features or functions to be turned on until somebody has physically, in person, by that I mean on a screen, rocked up for an onboarding call, so that we can actually use that onboarding call not just to help and serve that individual in the success on our platform, but actually because behind the scenes for us, it's also an identity verification check. And what we found is if someone's a scammer or they're a fake account, they don't turn up for that onboarding call. So guess what? Those features that can cost us money or potentially cause cybersecurity issues, they don't get turned on. So that person basically can't do anything. They've got their hands tied and they have a useless account, essentially. So there's a few processes that we've used like that do involve people being involved. But yes, certainly behind the scenes, we have obviously email verifications auto turned on. We have various added functionalities in Stripe that are actually doing checks on the credit card.
Like the radar
You've got all those kinds of softwares, that are going to be checking for you. Is this a stolen or fraudulent card or account? We've got then automated flags in place for us to actually pause accounts before people can access those join an onboarding call so that we can again do identity verification. So I strongly recommend that anyone who is going into this space or who's already in it, if you haven't experienced these issues, you absolutely will at some point. If you're getting noticed in the industry, you are going to become a potential vehicle for these kinds of nefarious players. Please make sure that you have spoken to a consultant or an experienced SaaS owner and asked them, what kind of security measures can we have in place to protect our business, not only from you taking on the costs of someone who is acting in a fraudulent manner, but also to protect your business from actually any form of litigation that could come if your business, your platform, it doesn't matter if it's owned by GHL, that's irrelevant. GHL is just a base software. It's your company that's being used as the vehicle for illegal activity. You as the owner of that business are open to litigation if someone was to use your company to do something illegal. So you need to make sure that you have various insurances in place. You need to make sure you've got cybersecurity insurance in place. In a world today where, particularly if you're working in a global marketplace, is a very litigation focused environment. You're storing people's data, you're storing people's information, you're literally holding people's businesses in your hands. Ensuring that you have the infrastructure and the security in place of insurances should someone try to sue you for them deleting their own data, for them pressing a button, for them leaving their passwords open on a computer and getting cyber hacked. This is something that you are going to need to make sure that you can protect yourself against, whilst at the same time protecting your customers' businesses too. And this is the big grown-up side of the fun of come and start a SaaS company. It's so easy on this platform, right? You do have to speak to a grown-up and understand that there's all this other side of it too. So I don't want to scare anyone, but, you know, Vit, we're here today to do real talk, right? We are both very experienced business owners, and yes, it's fun. Yes, it's lucrative. Yes, I do have a 7-figure business that I run barefoot in my spare bedroom on my riverside house by the beach. But we also are only still here because we know and understand the other side of business too. And I want everyone listening to this to not see this as fear mongering, but to see this as your big brother and sister here, just giving you a heads up so that you can be prepared and not go through the painful, hard ways that people like Vit and I have gone through.
Yeah. And by the way, it doesn't stop there. There's more. There's more that you need to be aware of, right? There's things like your payment processing, right? Your Stripe. That's where everything happens, right? That's the most established one. Probably the better. They cost a lot more money, but it's pretty robust. But things like rebilling. If you don't properly educate your customers when they signing up, there are going to be fees. They're going to be have to pay for every SMS, every phone call, every AI, every premium workflow action, every funnel AI, there's so many of these different things that you get charged for. You really want to make sure that customer understands it. You make it opt-in on the sign-up form so that they actually agree to it. Have a page like I've got, you can check it out, by the way. You're welcome to do standupfromthepark.com.au/face, something like page like that explains to all your customers, hey, here's how much you're going to get charged when you sign up. As much as you can to avoid the thing where somebody signed up and then they didn't realize and then they get charged and they're like, what is this? And then they dispute and now you've effed. Because you have a thing where Stripe will, they have their own compliance with their boss, the finance industry, and so they have to comply. And so if they pick up that you've got some disputed transactions, and even though you might have a lot of good ones, but you just get a couple of bad ones in a short time frame, they will lock you down and they will hold all the money. I just spoke to somebody from Australia, another agency owner. He does a lot of work with car dealerships and stuff. And 6 months they hold, I don't know, it was a good couple of $100K. They hold that money. And now you've got a business, you got to pay your employees, you got to, but you can't touch that money. Stripe won't give it to you until you go through the process. So that's another one to be really aware of. So
Yeah,
there's a
scary.
lot.
It's a scary world when you're dealing with this, and I think a lot of business owners don't realize just how much we are at the mercy of the customers and of the users. And for a lot of us running usually SaaS, right, the software itself is usually low ticket and low cost. So your claims, if people are running any kind of dispute saying, I just didn't want to pay this month, so I'm just going to dispute it in Stripe because I don't feel like paying my bill. The consequences on us is huge, and usually it's actually not worth running a dispute because of the payback dispute charges that come back on you anyway. So there are a lot of considerations you need to have there. And as you said, Vit, the biggest way to avoid that is through customer education, customer communication, and making sure that it is explicitly clear to your customer how they're going to be charged, and that you have created demonstrable evidence of multiple points at which you have clarified and made clear your fees and charges structure, including getting people to agree to terms and conditions when they sign up, sending a clickable link in their initial sign up registration email as well, so that if you do ever find yourselves in a dispute situation or in any kind of litigation around fees and charges, you can prove that at multiple points this person not only made it clear that they were aware and acknowledged and agreed to those terms and conditions, but also that they were consistently provided with access to that documentation and information. So again, talking to a grown-up, getting them to review your onboarding process. Do I have that checkbox agreement terms there? Is there a place where we consistently link to those terms in their comms and emails, so that if you do find yourself there, and you will at some point, this isn't an if, it's inevitable, that you have those processes in place to say, see, Mr. Dispute Acknowledger, or, Mr. Court of Law, we have done everything we could as an organization to clearly articulate, demonstrate, and explain our pricing, and this person agreed to it, so that you hopefully don't find yourself in a situation that some of our colleagues in this industry have. That we've seen some of our friends, unfortunately, here, where they have lost access to their Stripe account, meaning they literally cannot receive any money at all from their entire agency because there was more than a couple of disputes within a certain period of time.
Yeah.
Ouch.
So it's painful. That's where you want to also have some redundancies. I heard somebody saying that Tony Robbins, when he runs his live events and then selling his programs on the back of these things, they have about 6 different merchants ready to go. When one fails, the other ones keep going.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy. So, we are all marketers. Here's an interesting point to this, right? We as marketers, we are all about conversion and how we can, increase conversion. But this is one of those things where you don't want to make it too easy. Mm-hmm. It goes against the contrary. Be like, I want to have as many signups. If I'm going to put all these, terms and conditions, that's a lot of friction. But the people that wouldn't want to do it, you wouldn't want to have them as a client in the first place. Yeah, they might pay for that first month, but they're not going to be the good clients that you want to keep. So yeah. So, and I guess going back to the beginning, we talked about, being perfectionist to embracing the chaos, and there's no right or wrong. There's, you got to find the right way, but it's just making you aware as you're listening, I'm hoping making you aware as you're listening that there's level of, you have to be a bit of a perfectionist and prepare, because, you have the rule of 5 Ps. Prior preparation prevents poor performance, or in this case, prevents getting litigated, or prevents
getting shut down,
losing your business and going bankrupt before you even started, by scaling 700 problems where you now have to go into every single sub account and spend 5-10 hours per sub account to fix something. You go out of business very quickly before you even started. So not your case, but could be someone's example.
Oh, it was very close. I think that's the thing particularly in SaaS, and I guess in any business in today's world, is it doesn't matter how successful we are right now. The truth is we are all one complaint away from being shut down. And this classic example wasn't even a complaint. We're all one problem away from potentially being shut down. I feel like we're doing a really doom and gloom podcast here, but I think this is actually, it's important to look under the skirt, right? It really is. When there's a lot of go get it, it's all going to be fun. when I was starting my business in Australia, was very successful very, very quickly. I managed to obtain a number of contracts with the local government and the federal government that were all funded by one massive fund. And I was running an extremely successful training company, and I had massive, huge mining corporations, oil and gas companies, huge ASX listed companies that were my customers. And I'm sitting there thinking, woohoo, go me, like everything's great. Some of these clients were paying me $40,000 a month retainers, right, for the services we were providing. It was insane. I had a nice new car on the driveway. We bought a property. Everything's cool. And I'm thinking life's sweet. I shit you not. One Tuesday morning, only 19 months into what was supposed to be a 7-year contract, I believe, literally the government who was running this fund that funded all these major corporates that were then using that fund to pay me, pulled the fund overnight, completely unexpectedly. And in one single Tuesday morning, I think this was early 2014, I lost 21 employees and $2.7 million and my entire business. In a Tuesday morning, I went from a multi-millionaire to over 7 figures in debt in a day. Right now, could I have predicted that? No. Did I put all of my eggs in one basket? Yes. Does that make a high-risk business? It certainly does. And in today's world, everything is high risk. So I think if we're going to take this podcast down the road of let's protect you from failure, let's actually share with you the real truth behind running a successful company. It's about understanding that our job is not just to market and bring people in and share the dream and all the love and the joy. It's also to have your eyes wide open to the fact that we all have gaping holes around us that one wrong step we can fall down. Some of those things are our own doing. Some of those things we cannot predict or prepare for, but we must have risk litigation in place to plan and prepare for. If this was to happen, how would we overcome that? If I did lose my Stripe account, what would be our second option? If someone did sue me tomorrow because of X, Y, or Z things, how would we get through that? If, for instance, I got hit by a truck tomorrow, what would happen? And we do have to ask these horrible, scary, nasty questions. We simply cannot, as successful business owners, certainly in the 7-figure plus range, just hope that everything's going to be okay. And we certainly cannot, for the sake of our customers especially, go, I'll deal with that problem if I come to it. Our job as leaders, as CEOs of proper businesses needs to be what could go wrong and how will we address that if it happens. And I hope that today's podcast is actually you stepping into that 7-figure CEO mindset and realizing that this isn't something scary or that we should not talk about. This isn't Debbie Downer topics. This is really important business stuff that Vit and I are being brave enough to share with you today so that you can be prepared.
Yeah. Now, let's flip the switch a little bit. I think we've done enough to fear-mongering here. But look, so what's the alternative? You might say, oh, you know what? Okay, well, I'll just send everybody to go sign up with HighLevel directly. No, because businesses, they need our help. Like businesses that sign up directly to HighLevel, they are not, HighLevel is not designed to support them. They are designed to support us. And so, they need us. So, it comes down to what you're passionate about. Like I'm pretty passionate about helping small businesses because it's problem solving, right? And I know if I send them over to HighLevel, they might, some might help themselves to a point, but where we sit, we have this unique model for us that HighLevel provides us with. We can put our brand on it and be that strategic partner for those small businesses. And that's what keeps me excited every day. So yes, lots of risks, lots of things. You got to cross all the I's and T's and have all the ducks in a row type of thing. And as long as you're a responsible human and you're doing it in a smart way, this is very rewarding. So let's talk about the rewarding side.
Yay!
What are the rewarding side for you where you're at now, like lifestyle wise, or what do you like to say?
Well, I think all of us should be building a business with a plan that's more than just pay the bills. We should all be doing something and picking something that genuinely lights us up, fills us with joy, and that makes us say in the morning, I get to do this, rather than, oh, I've got to do this today. If you find yourself saying that, something's out of alignment, right? But if you have a business that allows you to feel joy, excitement, passion, if you have built your business around something that you're skilled at and can help other people do or achieve around that skill set, that knowledge, and that passion, you have hit the jackpot, right? There are so few human beings in life who can say they love their job and that it gives them the lifestyle and that it gives them the income that adequately provides in return the karmic exchange of I get to serve and I get to receive for the level at which I'm putting out. So that's the first thing, is definitely find something you love. I have always had a passion for education. So I've just used a piece of software so that I can go on and help people in my niche, particularly course creators, go and impact the world in their way and help them on that particular journey. But we also want to be building a business that can have a much bigger, longer impact than just paying the bills today for doing something we love. I always encourage business owners to think about, is there an exit plan one day? Are you building and scaling something to sell one day? Because every business has the potential to be sellable, and you never know what kind of box of gold you might get back in exchange for that at the point at which you're sale ready. Is it going to be something that you want to pass on to your kids or your grandkids or other family members, and creating this family legacy line that you're passing down to those that come after you? Is it to be able to create a platform from which, no matter what happens with it, you have people who've been able to achieve their dreams and their goals, and this is going to go on and keep serving people long after you're gone via whatever means? To me, that's way more important. Creating something that's bigger than us, that's going to last longer than us in our tiny little minute human lifespans that we have, is also really, really powerful. So yes, creating that lifestyle. And this is what I love, right? I've got 2 little children like you, Vit, as well. And I saw actually a quote very, very recently online where someone said, if you have a job that allows you to drop your kids off at school, pick them up from school, and to attend all of their little after school cute things that they do, you've already made it. And for me, even though my business is very busy and I certainly don't make all of the things, the fact that I have the choice and the opportunity to pretty much all of them, really, that hits home. We've already made it. If we can be there to help our future generations go on and live a full life because they had somebody present. Now, of course, that's my personal values, and I'm not saying that anyone who isn't there isn't living right. I really want to bring that home. We all have very different ways of living and very different values. But that's something for me that's important. And I also love the fact that when we're doing something that we love and we're helping someone achieve that thing, it is infectious. The passion, the excitement is infectious. That's where just providing or serving becomes inspiration. And that inspiration is what creates intrinsic desire for change in the people that we're going to serve. When somebody feels inspired from within, that is truly the only thing that creates the inertia in another human being to go and take action on something that they're dreaming of. And then is when the magic happens. So for me, seeing those light bulbs go on, seeing those results that people get, opening up my messenger every day and seeing people going, I made my website, I've made my funnel, I've launched my course, I've got my first students, I've just made my first online sale, my phone Stripe keeps dinging with notifications. Thank you, Sarah. I still cry. 20 years later, it still makes me cry. So for me, that reward, there is nothing, there is no paycheck, there is no amount of money that could possibly match that level of joy and sense of purpose that my life is worth living than getting those messages from other people saying, you have made my dreams come true. Cheesy, yes. Magic, absolutely. Possible when you go out there and start your business and just go, absolutely.
Yeah, you're helping business owners who have that sort of a beaten up vehicle, trying to pull it off, turn it into a Ferrari, right? With this, and as a result of that, helping change their lifestyle, having to finally be able to go on holidays and see the possibility of actually having a business that is a business and not a job.
That's
so
right.
we can do that, and we can do that at scale, and that's amazing. about high level. Sarah, I want to go to some rapid fire questions, but before we do that, I believe we're providing some value. What do you guys think? Listening, if you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you're watching on YouTube, give it a like. Whatever, let us know so that we can see, if we've resonated with you so far. But there's more to give. Now, Sarah has been kind enough to prepare a little link for you guys. Do you want me to pitch it for you, Sarah, or you want to tell the guys?
You can go for it because I can't remember the link. But we've got some special treats for you.
So, so listen up. So, if you're looking to launch your own online course or digital product, if you're a course creator, or if you just want to check out what Sarah does so that you can get some inspiration how you could do it, she's got some insane free resources for you. If you head over to highlevelexperience.com/Sarah Cordiner, you can grab her free 8-week course creation program, her lead magnet launcher, and also a personalized business action plan, all 100% free. Am I correct? Did I stuff up anything? Is that true?
Ding.
All true. So if you're serious about turning your knowledge into income, this is your jumpstart. Again, that's highlevelexperience.com/Sarah Cordiner. Go get it. And on that page, if you scroll further down, I've dropped in a couple of my resources as well that I've put together for my own SaaS and so some of the agencies that I'm working with, such as the rebilling calculator. So you can figure out how much to actually set up your markups to rebill. Because one thing that you may have not known about, when you're setting up your rebilling, you have to consider Stripe fees. You have to consider all those extra things. So if you want to know how to properly set up your rebilling for all the different things so that you can have your SaaS configurator properly set up, that's all available on that page as well. You just scroll down a little bit and you can get your whole hands on those resources as well.
Now, go get it.
Go get it. Yeah.
Go get it.
Back to regular programming. Sarah, I've got some rapid fire questions regarding high level. What systems or automations inside your high level agency have been the biggest game changers for scaling your business and freeing up your time?
OMG, without a doubt for me, it's going to be automations, workflows, because that for me probably takes away about 80% of stuff that could have been or should have been or would have been done manually in the past. So everything from fulfilling orders all the way through to reminding students about their courses, their membership stuff that's coming up. Bam, bam, no more admin, workflows for me.
Beautiful. In terms of using third-party vendors, how do you handle customer support? Do you handle that in-house or do you use one of the big white label providers?
Both. So one of the things that we found is having a combination of a dedicated in-house team. We've got 15 in-house full-time employees of our own that manage most of our onboarding and our more customer-facing, intimate type of customer support. And then we also have an external third-party IT agency, support agency that helps with our live chat. So having that combination together allows me to ensure I've mitigated risk in having support in both places and locations to cover all angles for our customers.
So technical question, ratio. So you're saying you are 15 in-house that help also on the fulfillment side of things. Mm-hmm. And then you've got a customer care vendor that handles the 24/7 technical support chat. With the 15 employees that you have, did you find it like a good ratio, like per how many customers you have one employee that kind of works?
I would say if you're just starting out, and you are bringing people in on a drip. So it depends on whether you're bringing in large numbers of people, right? Because it's usually the onboarding and the first 30 days that people sign up that they need the most amount of help. Once you kind of get them past 60 to 90 days, they need very little hands-on support and then more just using live chat support. So it does depend on what your onboarding process is and if you're doing hands-on approach. But for me, I would definitely want to have at least 5 people, not necessarily full-time, but certainly 5 people available to cover 24-hour service per 150 people. But again, that depends on the kind of support that you're offering. We have things like people can book calls with our tech experts, as we call them, like we're Techmatics. So we have tech experts. So we need a little bit more staffing because we have a lot more like person to customer level support. So I would recommend anyone thinking what's my personal ratio is go to ChatGPT and actually ask and give it the types of support and the facing time that you have with your clients, because that will actually give you an idea based on your particular business, what your ratio of staff to customers needs to be. Because for all of us, it's going to be completely different.
I love it. No, that's great. And obviously being more hands-on, that's gonna increase your retention. Now, speaking of retention, there are other ways you can manage the retention of SaaS. One of them being adoption rate. Do you use something that allows you to see what what features particular users has already get their hands on, and when they're logged in and things like that?
We do. We also actually use a service, not a service, a process in our onboarding process where we ask our customers, what brought you here? What features are you most excited to use or get started with? And we actually incorporate that into their personalized onboarding process. So if someone comes on and says, for me, it's about email marketing, I really want to start my emails, I really want to use email marketing in my business, we actually use that as our way of then going and supporting them in getting that up and running for them first as part of their priority for their onboarding process. But yes, we also are using other tools and systems within our business to go through after 90 days of someone being on the platform and looking at what features have they not touched, what features have they not used at all, so that we can reach out to them. We actually have an employee whose job title is Rockstar Reach Out. It's literally her job to go in and do Rockstar Reach Out to our clients and say, hey, Vit, I noticed that you haven't used automations yet. Did you know this could be saving you potentially 80% of the stuff that you're doing manually in your business? Would you like to jump on one of our daily training calls? Would you like to jump on a call with a tech expert? Would you like to book a call with one of us to help see how you could be using that feature in your business? And that works very, very well for customers that usually come back and say, I've been meaning to use that, but I just don't understand it. I'm overwhelmed. I'm not sure how it could work for me. Having that reach out is really helping with not just our retention, but that sense of customer loyalty and customer surprise as well.
Yeah, I love it. And by the way, here's a pro tip for you guys. Here's how you can because if you try and think how do I reinvent the wheel? How do I market this? And how do I get more signups? Quite literally, HighLevel has so many really good features. Voice AI is a big thing. Chatbots or database reactivation or setting up social planner, using that with AI content creator and all that stuff. There's so many different opportunities. And if you just run webinars to your existing customer base to educate them, and every week something different, right? Hey, did you know that, and show them, and then open their eyes up. So then they actually realize, oh yeah, I haven't tapped into that one. And then you actually show them how easy it is. But here's the tip. You can actually tell your customers hey, I'm going to be running this. Do you know anybody that needs help with social media? Because, you might want to invite them along to come and go and consume this workshop for free. But I want you to invite them because we do have this amazing affiliate program and you actually get a kickback when they roll over. So you, Mr. Customer, you get yourself educated about what we're about to cover. Somebody get to learn about what it is that we do. And you make money, we make money, and they get into our community, so they start to benefit as well. So it's a win-win-win. And it's I'm a big fan of scale strategies, like leverage strategies.
Yeah, that's it. And they always say that it's about 3 times harder to get a new customer than to keep an existing one. So really focus on your attention. What is it that's going to make people stay? And usually it's that personalized care and support. And even with AI here at the moment, certainly it's the human touch in a technical world that is helping people feel seen and cared about and loved and supported. And that, especially in tech, is a massively high need. And those businesses like us who have lasted past the startup phase of 3 years, by the way, over 80% of tech startups don't last the first 12 months because it is savage and it's brutal, and because you need so many customers to actually make ends meet, being in mind that a lot of it is obviously low ticket sales. Having the customer wow factor and that human touch still is critical. And I'm sure we're going to see that landscape shift as more people get used to working with AI and as more people get very comfortable with working as AI customer support. Certainly, we're already exploring how can we use AI agents to do onboarding? How can we use AI agents to do even more of our customer support and service? I hope that one day we can even start using AI agents to run training for us and so much more. We're not quite there yet, but we need to be thinking about these things going forward, and the world will get more used to that. Even those people saying, I'm never going to attend a business that provides that kind of service. But yeah, for now, having love and support and care in your tech, in your digital system is definitely a sticking point in terms of the good kind of sticky, right? In MRR-based businesses, stickiness is good. We want them to stick around and keep that retention inside our businesses. So love them up. And that's why we have our thing here, love your tech.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, Sarah, so originally, what about HighLevel grabbed your attention? Was there something specific or problem you were trying to solve?
What got me to pick the platform that we've been built on? Well, first of all, the biggest problem I had as a business owner, which is what most of my clients end up coming to me for, all right, always think about what are your issues and challenges, is that I had 10,000 pieces of software all stuck together with sticky tape via zaps here and a zap there and a zip over there. It was like a giant freaking snake's wedding. And when one zap broke, everything else broke. And for me, it was just honestly a nightmare to keep all of everything talking to everything when you're using all of these different softwares. And that was for somebody who was techie and knew how to fix it herself. So how could we expect other people who are experts and amazing at other things, but not experts in tech to do it? It's just impossible to expect that of people who are not tech experts and don't want to be. So when I was looking around for how can I create a platform that is going to be fit for purpose for my market, I asked myself, what would I want? What would work for me? Because this is the business I am already in. It's the business that I'm trying to run a business in that is having me experience a world fraught with problems, right? The growth caps, the increasing subscription fees, the multiple softwares, all of these apps. What would work for me? Well, one where I had one place, put everything, where I could run all of my stuff in one place, where I had one freaking password to manage and where I wasn't going to keep getting charged more as my business grows. So I had been looking around for actually probably about 4 or 5 years before that fateful day in COVID, when one of my students said, Sarah, help, if you started your own thing, we would move there. I was looking around, and I genuinely was struggling to find anything that had all of the moving parts in one place. And it was actually a friend of mine who was saying, Sarah, you've got to meet this chick, Maria. You're going to love her. And I'm thinking, I'm living, by the way, at this point, in the middle of nowhere, right? We call it bum F nowhere here in Australia. I'm talking, this place was so whoop outback bush that it's a 3-hour flight to the nearest city. That's how far it was away from anything. So I'm going, well, how am I going to meet this woman? When's she come into outer space to come and see me? Well, she did. This complete random stranger who I've never met in my life, who one of my mates who I love said, you just need to meet her. At this point, this woman turns up my house. I still have no idea why she's here. She just is holding a bottle of wine and I'm like, we're going to be friends. She sits down and I'm like, so why did our mutual friend decide that we should meet? She goes, well, have you heard of this platform called HighLevel? And I'm like, nah. By this point, we're on the second bottle of wine. She's explaining that it has all of these different features. Sounds too good to be true. She whacks out a laptop, gives me a demo. My chin's on the floor, and I'm like, take my money, sis. So if it wasn't for Maria, who, by the way, is now our CTO and COO and has been with us for a few years, if it wasn't for her, Techmatics probably wouldn't exist. Or, at the very least, I certainly wouldn't have found out about it when I did and been luckily one of the early adopters in the Australian market. I just love that woman. Thank you, Maria, if you're listening, because it does take friends. It takes connections, how we started today, for us to find out what's possible, for us to learn the lessons we need to learn, and for us to then be able to action them with the help and expertise of each other.
Yeah, I love that. That's something that I'm running a one-man show, and that's what I envy in some of the agency owners like yourself who have good partners in the business. That's something, there's a lot of benefit to it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tough to do anything completely on your own. And, if you are going for a large scale operation, you have to, start resourcing up to be able to manage those kinds of numbers, because it would be impossible by myself. There's no way I could do it. And that's me, a steam train of a woman. Yeah, there's no way I could do it without the support of my colleagues, without the team that I have that work 24 hours a day. And I think as well to just acknowledge those people while we're here. A lot of people who are running their businesses are the face of their brand. Yes, we're the ones that get egg on our face when it goes wrong, but we're also the one who gets celebrated on podcasts like this, who get the round of applause up on stages, who everyone says thank you to when they've had some kind of a win. But this wouldn't exist if I didn't have all of the other people who sit quite unseen and unacknowledged by everyone else behind me. And as we build these bigger businesses, we actually have to realize that we cannot do this by ourselves. So we do have to hand over trust. We have to hand over love. We have to hand over power. We have to hand over delegation of authority to people who are going to hold a portion of our dreams in their hands too, so that we can go on and follow and implement our mission. But thank you to all of the people who serve other businesses. None of us could do it without you.
Yeah, I love it. A few more questions about HighLevel. Are you ready?
Let's go.
What are you looking forward to the most in the future HighLevel feature releases, and why?
The thing I am most looking forward to in the tech space is the continued development of AI. This is rolling out so quickly that most of us can barely keep up with it. I'm certainly looking forward to the improvement of outbound calling, because I think not necessarily will I be using that in my space for sales calls. My audience just probably wouldn't react very well to being cold called. But I see that being used really, really well for my students when I'm running events and just calling them up and saying, hey, just letting you know, the next event's running. Are you coming? People who are already my warm audience, my warm students, using it as reminders, using it as check-ins, using it for that rock star reach out I was mentioning. I do see that AI is going to be really, really helpful to just stay, in fact, a bit more closer in touch with our customers. I know that sounds ironic, but I will certainly be using it to be like, hey Vit, how are you going? Is there any features that you want some more support with? Is there anything you'd like some more training on delivered by our team? We run daily training calls. Is there a particular topic you'd like to see us run one on? So basically do that kind of touch base and get that information and collection. I also am really looking forward to the increasingly ongoing evolution of workflows and automations. We're now seeing the ability for us to connect in our own custom GPTs into workflows. And this is a game changer, because no longer are we now creating a pre-written set of email sequences that go out same email to every single person who goes through the system. You're now already able to craft highly customized emails to each and every person that comes into your system and goes through the flow. And this is really game changing for businesses. And this is only the beginning. So personally, I am absolutely boing level excited about how the AI is going to continue to evolve over the next 6 to 12 months and beyond. It genuinely terrifies me and excites me all at the same time.
Yeah, we're on the brink of a massive market adoption. I feel like a lot of businesses are still not getting it. I go to BNI every week. I know I speak to them, right? I talk to them every week. I do my 45 seconds and I talk about a bit about what I do, and they still don't get it. And then today I had a 10 minutes presentation and I showed them the voice AI, and they were like, wow, okay, this is what it does. And I think a lot of businesses still are not adopting these new technologies. It's trickling through. And I think, you got the bell curve, the adoption bell curve when the mass adoption happens. And I think we're not far from it. And when that happens, those of us that have been around and been preparing for this, we're going to be serving a lot of businesses.
Yeah, it's certainly at that point right now where we are at the forefront of the AI revolution. And it is easy for everyone watching this who isn't using AI yet to think that they're behind and there's no point jumping on board. You're not. Remember that half of the world doesn't yet have the internet. Half of the world doesn't even have an internet connection yet. So you're not behind. However, this is your opportunity to be right at the very, very front. So no matter how overwhelming and scary and alien and confusing it feels, remember this is new for everybody. Jump on, start learning, be a learner, because this is a massive opportunity for us and we only need to be one step ahead of our competition. So please just take a deep breath and enjoy the learning of it, because this could change everything.
Yeah. I wish we had the magic ball and look in the future and see where we're at, whether we all end up in prison because we've ruined the world with AI or what happens. But yeah, for now, it's exciting. Let's just keep going. I mean, if we don't, somebody else will do it. So might as well be us. If you could give one piece of advice to new high-level users to make their life easier when adopting and using high-level, what would that be?
So on top of all the things that we've shared today, if you're planning on starting your own SaaS company or an agency, please think about the magic that you bring as a person. Everything you've done in your life, every experience that you've had, every skill that you've got is your asset. It really, truly is. It's not the software that you're using that's your assets. It's not any magical combination of AI tools that's your assets. It's you that's the asset. There are, I think, 70,000 current people, businesses using, for instance, HighLevel. Right? 70,000, I believe, is the number that they announced at the last summit. So that's going to be considerably more than that today. What makes us all different? What makes us all different is the unique thing that that particular business owner is bringing in terms of the culmination of all of their life's work and experiences, skills, knowledge, and passions. If you can infuse whatever tools, whatever platforms, whatever systems you're using with who you are, you literally do not have a single competitor. You do not have anyone who you are up against if you are completely infusing yourself in your particular business operation. Everything from your brand voice to your branding, to the way that you speak, to the way that you present yourself, to the way that you dress, to the way that you communicate with the people, to the way that you write emails, to why you love what you do, to why it's important to you, and the particular group of people that you go to serve. Your history, your previous job roles, your previous business experiences, they are all the ingredients for you to succeed today by just looking back and saying, who was I when I most needed who I am today? That's your niche. Who was I when I most needed a who you are today? That is the person you're targeting. That's the person you can best help because you know exactly what it was like to be them. And that is how you stand out from everyone, no matter what tool, resources, or systems that you're using, no matter what promise that you're giving, which is pretty much the same as any other competitor in your market. It's the way you do it, it's why you do it, and it's how you do it that matters. That is your magic. That's your pot of gold. And that is your one thing that absolutely nobody can compete with you on. Go and be you and infect your business with everything that you are.
Yeah, there's no person the same on the planet. We're all unique and we all have our own experiences and we may have walked in someone else's shoes in a certain way so we can relate. And the relatedness is what's going to help you grow this business, right? Just got to speak to your tribe. Sarah, we've got about 15 minutes left, so we're going to fly through these. We've got a segment on this podcast called The Beef, where we discuss constructive feedback on HighLevel to improve the platform and get upvotes on the ADS board. Are there any challenges or frustrations you faced with HighLevel recently that you'd like to talk about and maybe get some upvotes for? I don't know if you've posted something on the ADS board, but...
Yeah, first of all, I love the ideas board because it's a great way for you to actually see other things that could be coming along. Who's got beef? I got beef. All right, first of all, the coolest thing about attending the HighLevel summits is that you get to meet lots of the developers, particularly the one that happens in Dallas in October every single year. And I have to say, at the last one, I spent a lot of time outside in the bar area talking to the developers. So I just want to say thank you, guys. You are absolute legends. You've changed my life and you've changed thousands of our customers' lives. So thank you very, very much. So my beef is not necessarily beef. It's more of a tartar in that I have found that one of the features that's amazing, but could be a little bit more seamless for us behind the scenes is probably the courses area. Obviously, being that I work with a lot of educators and course creators, this is a big feature that we use. I have found that there is a little bit of a disconnect between the course portal area and the Go Collab mobile app. At the moment, and I'm sure by the time this even airs, it might be fixed. I hope this is fixed by the time this airs, is that you have to not only give access to the student's course in the course portal, you also, if you're giving them access to a community or the mobile app, double access it. I know that sounds very hard to explain, but if most of the time at the moment, they're only able to see it in one location and not also on the mobile unless they've been given access to it there too. It gets a little bit complicated. It gets very confusing for the student, and it does also cause us double admin at the moment. So if we can get Go Collab and GHL talking together seamlessly, that is going to be like the epic tartar steak. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if you've posted this onto the ideas board, send me a link and I'll put it in the show notes so the guys listening, you guys can click on it and give Sarah's idea an upvote or look it up. There might be something already existing as well. Now, if you guys have any beef, quote unquote beef, an idea for improvement of high level and you want to let know the developers, but you also want to make sure that it gets prioritized, because the way it works is democratic, right? They've got so many developers, and how do they know which feature, which idea to work on first? They do it by looking at how many upvotes a particular thing has. So if you guys have something that you'd like to get more upvotes for, head over to highlevelexperience.com/thebeef, submit your beef, and there's a little form, and then we'll feature in the next episode. Now, Sarah,
submit your beef. I love it. Submit your beef.
Submit your beef, yeah, and we'll feature it. Now we have another segment which is all about inspiring other high levelers and what's been possible, what's the outcome of what we do. So this is called 3 Under 3. So it's short 3 stories under a minute each. We share 3 impactful stories in under 3 minutes. These stories highlight how agency owners like yourself have made a positive impact on the client's life. Do you have a quick success story or amazing result from using high level that you'd like to share to inspire our listeners today?
Well, one of my customers came to my house literally about 3 weeks ago, and I helped her create her new membership on our version of our SaaS business. And she went back to her office the next day and made $44,000 in the next 48 hours. And they had never, ever even had a month that big. So she was absolutely stoked. And that was all because of our platform. Woohoo!
I love it. Now, guys, if you have a story, if you're a SaaSpreneur, you're already sort of doing some amazing stuff for people and you want to share, you want to inspire other high levelers to see what's possible and get a bit of a shout out for your agency as well, then head over to highlevelexperience.com/your story and you can submit it and then we'll feature it on the next episode as well. All right, we're at the end, Sarah. I've got a couple more tricky questions and then we'll wrap it up. Are you ready?
Go.
What do you wish you had known when you started Techmatics?
Oh my goodness. One of the things that I didn't actually know very well was the numbers, the detailed nitty-gritty numbers behind how many people, new customers you need to get when you minus churn from a business that's a membership model. I had been used to running a membership for a very long time in the education space, but SaaS is quite different. So I didn't understand why I had all these people coming in, but the numbers were staying the same for a while. We kind of hit this level ceiling point. And when I actually sat down and cracked these numbers and really understood how many extra people per month I needed to get off on top of my growth number to actually grow rather than stay at the same subscriber number, everything changed. So make sure you know your numbers, especially when it comes to churn.
Yeah, that's a big one. Now, Sarah, we're all humans. No one is perfect. What are you not very good at?
Do you know what I'm not very good at? I am absolutely shockingly terrible at criticism, as in receiving it. Yeah. I have a very public personal brand and I very much am the face of my business. And I am someone who wears my heart on my sleeve. I love a lot and I care a lot, but when someone is upset or angry at me, when somebody has a complaint, if somebody says something mean, which luckily doesn't happen very often, I absolutely crumble. It really, really hurts me. I feel absolutely dreadful. I feel like the world's greatest failure if I don't have customers that are anything other than delighted. And that's something I'm working very, very hard on as a person, as a human being, is to how do we keep on like the very tough external CEO hat. We talked about some of the tough stuff today, but it doesn't mean being immortal. And it certainly doesn't mean eliminating the fact that we do have human being hearts that bleed when we feel pain. So yeah, I'm absolutely dreadful at dealing with the problems or the challenges or the complaints or people that are not absolutely delighted, because I care and because I love them and I want them all to be delighted and I like people to like me. Great weakness.
Yeah, and look, it's a tough one because in business you have to have a bit of a thick skin, but you don't want your heart to grow really thick that you can't be, you can't be, to empathize and things like that. So it's a fine line, isn't it? Tell me something that's true that almost nobody agrees with you on.
That nobody agrees with me on. Okay. Here's something that I believe to be true that most people who lead or run businesses agree with. And that is that you can be friends with your colleagues. This is something that I've been criticized about. I was the executive director and head of campus of a university. I've run a large business for 20 years. I've worked in government. I've worked in corporate organizations. And in every single one of those scenarios, I have always been friendly and even aimed to be friends with my staff. And I've consistently been told that's bad leadership. You should never be friends with your staff. They are staff, not your friends. I completely disagree. I believe that you get more from a human being when there's genuine relationship there. I believe that you get more loyalty from a person when they know that you care about them, and you genuinely do. And I certainly believe that someone is far more likely to run into a building and save you when it's on fire if they know that you do the same. So anyone who says you shouldn't be friends with your staff, I completely disagree. I spend more time in my business with my staff than I do with my own family. And I, for one, want that to feel like my chosen family. I want to feel like I love those people. And I'd like to think that they love working with me too.
I love that. Sarah, we're at the end. If there was one, I don't know, like something you'd like to say to the listeners before we wrap up, now is your time.
Never in my wildest dreams did I think that as a gypsy immigrant, I would have one of the largest SaaS agencies in Australia, a country that I wasn't even born in. I also didn't imagine that by the age of 37, then I would retire my husband. Never did I think that before the age of 40, I would be living a life that would be impacting and changing the lives of thousands of other people. This happened not because there's anything special about me. I've got a crack in my butt the same as everybody else, right? Not because I have any special marketing team or because I started with any kind of special gift or constellation in the universe. Because I decided that I wanted to try something. Because I made up my mind that I would give it the hardest shot that I would ever give anything. Because I decided that no matter how hard it got, I would keep on trying. Because I decided that no matter how much it seemed like results weren't coming, I would keep on learning and I would keep asking for help and I would keep finding a way. Because every time we got one glimmer of hope of someone saying, thank you, that helped, that's changed my life, you soon get people saying, this has saved my life. Because we focused on those moments and kept using that as our fuel to keep going and growing more, I now have a business that got valued at $15 million from my spare room in my home, built from a place of a dream. You can create anything. You can make something extraordinary from nothing. It is the true definition of alchemy, and all you need to do that is ambition, the willingness to learn, and commitment to not give up when it gets hard, because it will. And if you push through those days, you will have the dream come true, which is the actualization of something that once was an idea, and you'll wake up one day and go, oh my goodness, we're somewhere there. Isn't that amazing? So ask for help, do lots of learning, and believe in yourself. And please make sure you give yourself time to get results, because none of this stuff happens overnight. I'm certainly cheering you on. Vit's cheering you on. You've got this. And I can't wait to hear your story on this podcast one day soon too.
Sarah, you're amazing. Thank you for sharing your passion. Thank you for being on this show today. You've shared a lot of wisdom and experience, and I salute you for what you've done and where you've gotten. It's truly impressive. I look at your posts and it inspires me to, I've got my own aspirations with what I want to take it, and just seeing you and seeing others that are ahead of me, what they do and how they do it. And it's just inspiring. And this is what makes me so passionate about continuing to do this podcast, because selfishly, it's something I've started for myself, but also I enjoy inspiring others for you guys listening as well. So I think we're all win. We're all win having amazing guests like Sarah with us and sharing their wisdom. So thank you. I just wanted to say thank you again, just for doing that, Sarah.
Thank you, Vit. Thank you for having me.
And for you guys, thank you for listening to today's episode on the HighLevel Experience as well. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please share it with your fellow agency mates and other high levelers that you think would also benefit from listening. For show notes, links, and extra tips to help you grow your agency or your SaaS with HighLevel, please go to highlevelexperience.com. And if you want to check out Sarah's offer, once again, that's just heading over to highlevelexperience.com/Sarah Cordiner. Go get it, guys. And hopefully we'll see you in Dallas in October. Or if you're in Australia, I'll be going to SaaSpreneur in Sydney. I hope you guys see you there. I know Sarah will be there as well. So we look forward to see you guys there. Thank you again for listening, and have a great rest of your day, everybody.